A young woman is able to escape her miserable reality by jumping down the rabbit hole to land where nothing makes sense.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with
Michelle,
Andre,
Luis,
and me, Emily. We're a family-friendly podcast where we pick a new Disney movie each week. We watch it, share our thoughts, and then relate it to pop culture, fandoms, and anything else that pops into our heads. Enjoy!
and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 97.
woo-woo,
Woo! 97.
week 312 of quarantine.
Yeah, we're still in here, still doing it.
Captain's log. Day 285.
12 days later.
You know the funniest part about all this? It's not really that funny, but Michelle said in our first episode when Shelter in Place had been put in, she said something about coronavirus, and Andre, you were like, well, now this isn't timeless anymore. Like, and it's
Right, Andre.
Well, yeah, I guess none of these are technically timeless.
all of our, like, not all of our episodes talk about something specific.
Oh well.
So now all of this is very with the quarantine.
Current.
With the times, yes.
With the
It's
time.
current.
Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast in the far, far future, just know that the stuff is not great right now, but that's okay because this week
I'm more worried about my allergies than anything. Let's be real.
Okay.
My eye right now. Woo!
This week, we are talking about the 2010 live-action Disney film, Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. That song is not even in this movie.
Right, it's like, Alice, Alice,
Alice.
oh.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, so this was a live action remake, which came out about 10 years ago. It's so funny because I
Which seems
graduated.
weird.
I know. I graduated in the year 2011 from high school, so I think I relate movies like to that date, you know?
Mhm.
Like, oh, it came out after 2011, like after high school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was 10 years ago.
Well, when watching this movie, it didn't seem to like 10 years ago to me. Like, it didn't feel like it was made 10 years ago. It could have been made yesterday.
Yeah,
True.
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Yesterday.
shut up. That's how Adeline says yesterday now is lasterday.
Last day.
But I mean, at least like quality wise of like the CGI and the props
Yeah,
and
it
stuff,
wasn't that
we're
bad.
Yeah, it
all
didn't
we're all
seem-
pretty timeless. I thought it was
Didn't
pretty
seem
good.
too dated, except for Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I did not like their faces at all.
I mean, I don't think I
It's
like
the actor.
That's the actor, though.
Right,
Yeah.
he's got a weird face, and they put him into an even weirder body.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well,
a
It
yeah.
whole-
actually, I don't even mean to be weird, but it like fit him perfectly, though. I don't disagree that it's weird, but he looks like that.
You
Like,
You make the perfect Humpty Dumpty.
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This film was directed by Tim Burton, who you know from
Lots of things.
the title
Stuff.
card on Nightmare Before Christmas
All the
and
things.
Frankenweenie and some other non-Disney stuff.
Edward Scissorhands.
Oh my gosh, this is our third Tim Burton then.
Yeah.
He was on
Right?
married to that girl.
No,
Yeah.
Frankenweenie was like 2011 or 12.
Never seen the movie.
Oh, we did it already.
Oh, our third Tim
Yeah.
Burton movie. Gotcha.
Yeah, this
Okay,
is
okay.
far more than the third Tim Burton movie in his repertoire.
No, I thought she meant like for Disney.
Right.
You know. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna go with first impressions. Luis, you could start us off on this.
Where'd your
fine-
hat go?
This
He was
fine-
wearing a hat. Did you see his hat?
He doesn't need a hat because he's repping your cool haircut you gave him.
I did just give him the Megan Rapinoe, y'all. He looks real good.
Real good.
It's not
No, but he was wearing like the little party hat. Where did it
Yeah.
go?
Oh, his crown.
his
Yeah.
crown. He was the king of the podcast for a second.
He was the podcast queen. Go
Anyway,
ahead.
your first impression, sir.
It's a good movie. I liked it a lot.
It's a good movie, and he liked it a lot.
That's great.
Hey, that's a first impression, y'all.
Amen.
Take notes. That's a first
Good
impression.
movie. He liked it a lot with a smile. That's all we can ask from Old Man Negative. All right, Andre, you're up next. What's your first impression of this
First
movie?
impression, it's a good movie, and I liked it a lot. I like this movie. It's a fun pseudo sequel to the original animated one, and I kind of forgot that. I thought it was just like a more of a direct remake. But
I thought so too.
upon watching it this time, it was fun that it was different in that way.
Agreed. Okay, Emily, first impression.
It was good and I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really good movie. I've seen it. This is probably like my third time seeing it, and I've liked it every viewing. And I dig the way that it connects to the original. It shows you like all of the remade scenes as it would be in a live action remake, but it's showing you in like a different time period, which was really cool. I like the different side of the characters. They're a lot more grown up than they would have been in the original because so much quote unquote time has passed, and I think that's really cool. It was kind of masterful the way they did that.
Even the Wonderland characters, that was cool.
Yeah.
I agree. My first impression is a really good movie, and I liked it. It was a good movie. I think it's probably the best out of the Alice in Wonderland remakes. I don't remember this one as much. I remember the more recent one because Andre and I did go see that one in the theater. I think this is probably my second or third time seeing this.
Was there only two? It was this one and the time one?
Correct. The Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
That one is significantly inferior to this one.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Luis likes that one.
I would say it is.
Yeah, really?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
It's okay.
He likes the guy. He likes
the guy who plays him very well.
What's his name?
Sacha Baron Cohen is the actor's name.
Yeah.
He played Borat.
No, what's his name? Borat.
He's like the time guy.
Yeah. Luis likes Borat.
I think I prefer this one, and I didn't remember that it was a sequel, like a reimagined sequel either. But what I think why I connect to this one the most is because when I was in high school, the year that this movie came out, we did a song in choir that was based off of the poem that this movie was written about.
You guys were in the same thing.
Too. No, we were not in high school together.
Because I was like, singing it in my head. I was like, "Oh, Mimsy where the burrow grows and the moans raft out Gabe." And then
let me tell you about how.
And I was like singing it in my head, and I was like, "Yeah, that's why we did this song, because like this movie."
Being Mimsy in the. Well, Andre, were you in choir the year we sang that or no?
No, I didn't do that.
Because we definitely sang it at my school too, and so yeah.
It like stuck with me, and I'm like, it actually kind of makes sense because some of the nonsense words they're saying is just like kind of weird, but I'm like, oh, it's from the poem. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it's all,
I can get past all of that, and it's like whatever. But I really like it. It's a really good movie, and I think in the realm of live actions, like if we're just talking specific Disney live action remakes, the Alice in Wonderlands and the Maleficents are the best ones. Those are the ones that I can watch and like be okay with. Most of the remakes, there's only like 2 remakes that I really like out of the, I don't know how many they've done now. So I'm okay with these because they're like a reimagined story based on the original, which I like so much more than just like a straight shot remake. Like if it was just a straight shot remake of Alice in Wonderland, I don't need to see the clams and the walrus and all that. I'm good.
I mean, that could have been cool.
No.
Like, it would have been interesting to see that exact story played out in a live action setting. But I am very, very glad that they decided to do something different with it.
I don't need to see her busting out a house.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't need any of that. It was a great reimagined story. Very simple, borderline PG-13. Okay, when I saw some of those heads in the river, I was like, this could be scary for a kid. I get it's PG. And
Adeline was scared.
On the screen in the beginning, where it said PG, it said because of a smoking caterpillar, and I was like laughing so hard. I was like, that's why it's PG, not the heads in the river.
Yeah, that was basically it, which is interesting because this movie definitely does not seem like it's made for kids. Like in comparison to the cartoon Alice in Wonderland, it's much more adult and dark and confusing. Like
Tim Burton took off with your head real literally, and he wanted to show it to you. He was this is what off with your head means. Children
and frogs.
I would say that this was more like a teenager, young adult audience.
Adult. Yeah, like 12, 13, 14 age.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Did you say Addie? Did Addie watch it?
Yeah.
Most of it.
Scared?
Sometimes. Mostly with like the creatures, not so much the head, because she had no idea what that even meant.
Like the Bandersnatch and the
Yeah.
All those, yeah.
Surprisingly, she wasn't really freaked out about the
Bandersnatch.
no, not
Or
the Bandersnatch, the Jabberwocky.
Mhm.
But I think it's because we've watched The Hobbit and she thought it was like smog or something.
Yeah.
That's
You've
hilarious.
seen one dragon, you've seen them all.
She's
right?
like, that's Benedict Cumberbatch. It's
Yeah, she's like,
fine.
dragons aren't scary.
Talking-
It's fine.
talking
It was-
dragon again.
It was actually, this talking dragon was voiced by Christopher Lee.
The show.
As Count Dooku.
Who?
Makes sense. Count Dooku.
He's Count Dooku in
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
So who was he
He's
here?
the one that's like the robot that.
No,
Has-
no, he's not the robot.
Oh,
No,
that's not Dooku?
He's a regular guy. He's got
Uh.
the red lightsaber, and he cuts off Anakin's arms, and he fights. Luke.
Okay, but who is he here?
He's the
The
Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky.
The Jabberwocky.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So let's talk about how this movie starts out. Cause I don't remember how this movie starts out at all. Like I remember things with the Bandersnatch and the Jabberwocky, but like the opening scenes are just Alice in Wonderland, like basically being courted. Well, what's her name? Alice something.
Kingsley.
Kingsley, thank you. She's going to be courted, right? And all of this scene is just so entirely awful to me that I love it. It's so ridiculous. They're all there for her engagement party, which she doesn't even know.
Hold on, pause.
she's
You
like 14.
Pause. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
sorry.
way off. Skirt.
that is not how the movie starts. Did you watch
It's
it?
not how it original. It's not the opening scene, but those scenes. Okay, you want to talk about opening with the dad?
Well, yeah, it's
Okay.
important.
Okay, sure.
So, like, very short, Alice, as a young girl, is absolutely enamored with her dad. Her dad is very important to her, and he is a tradesman, a captain. He seems to have, like, fleets and an investor, and he wants to go and he wants to establish trade routes
He
all
got
over the world.
money.
Yeah, he's the Tony Stark of 1645 or whatever.
The
It's
show.
really the 1800s, I think.
Whatever.
I don't know.
No, I don't know,
Maybe
because
17.
they hadn't established trade routes with China yet.
Right.
No, I don't know.
So it's so funny because I didn't really understand like the importance of that until the end of the movie, but it was kind of a masterful like time period to put her in because the new world and traveling to like foreign places was like her wonderland at the end. So I think it was really smart the way that they put it in history for us, like as humans and regular people.
According to Wikipedia, it was 1871 actually.
Okay, I was gonna say 18.
So you were right. I don't know. I was going to put them in like the 1200s. I don't know what's happening in history.
Yeah.
But
No
anywho,
medieval times.
You've seen one cart, you've seen them all. You know.
I told-
seem pretty medieval to me. I don't know.
I think it's still like 1800s, so that makes sense.
They didn't have TVs or microwaves, okay? It was medieval times.
It's the straight up dark ages over here.
But no, just so she loves her dad. She's enamored with the idea of travel and all this kind of stuff. But she has a recurring dream over and over and over. And it's like a nightmare to her as a kid, that she's falling down a dark hole, that she sees a rabbit, that all kinds of stuff that we know from Wonderland is happening to her in her dream. Then we fast forward to her being an adult. Dad has died. She's super upset. Mom's a mess, but expects her to be perfect Miss England.
High society.
High society.
Yeah, Miss High Society for
Greatness.
sure.
And she's very obviously just doing her and wants to be her own woman. And she's very modern, or atypical, I guess. It's not even considered modern in that time period, but whatever.
She's young
Right.
too.
She-
She's like a teenager, right? Like
Seven-
She's,
14, 15?
she's 19.
19.
It was 10 years later from when she was a 9-year-old girl.
Okay.
So yeah, and she's definitely a weirdo. Like that is made very apparent during this entire party that she is forced to go to.
Yes.
Is that everybody else acts normal or whatever, and Alice is gazing off into the clouds to see funny birds, and she's looking at bushes. And
I mean, she is odd because when she was dancing with the guy she was supposed to be courted to, she was just like saying things, and that dude is like, oh.
Oh, you mean Percy Weasley?
Yeah.
That is
Was
not
not
him.
No, it's not.
No.
But
Don't you insult her.
I shouldn't stereotype these
Hey, if you,
redheadeds.
we need to
British-
pause real fast. Let me do a Harry insertion here.
Ooh,
Luis has never read the books, but he's seen all the movies.
Mhm.
But right now we're reading the first one as a family because we got the picture illustrated version for Christmas,
nice.
and we're reading it. And he already is totally hooked, like because the book is great. And but we will remember this conversation about him saying, "Don't get bad on Percy Weasley," because Percy, right? You guys have read it.
Yes, he's a rule follower, which is
he's head boy.
He's a Louis.
He's head boy. He's a prefect. Oh my God.
No, but remember what happens later on in the story?
Yeah, we
remember.
know.
Absolutely.
We
yeah.
know.
Can't wait.
Have fun,
yeah.
Lou.
So that's why
So,
this dude.
point being, Luis got lots to learn about Mr. Percy.
Yeah, so that's kind of why Hamish reminds me of Percy just a little bit.
Just a little bit. He's head boy.
Yeah, he's definitely head boy. But Alice is, she's neither here nor there with him. I don't think she's interested in romance of any kind with any of these people.
I don't think she's just not all there, and she thinks about her dreams all the time, like constantly.
Well, I think she has it every night.
Yeah, she has the same dream every night. But I wouldn't say that she's like psychotic or anything.
Right.
She's
not
just
psychotic, but
she's
weird.
just like a normal girl who's like, I don't like this kind of life. This isn't me.
Exactly. And they all put it upon her that she's super weird because of that. But yeah, she's definitely not all there. She's super smart and observant, and I think that's why they think that she's weird. So she has a couple of conversations with some.
Had she been? Oh, I was gonna say, had she been, born like 50, 60 years earlier, they would have called her a witch because she's too forward thinking. Like,
right?
You know what I mean?
And so they're all telling her to like go get married or whatever, because you don't want to end up like old Aunt Agnes or whoever it was. Imogene, that's right.
Agnes.
She looks like an Agnes.
Speaking of, wasn't she the old lady in Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Wasn't she Hagrid's like lady in the Goblet of Fire?
What's her name?
The Baton Rouge ladies.
Yeah, the Baton Rouge from
yeah.
Bleu Bâton.
Bleu
Bâton.
Madame Lestrange. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. But it'll come to me at some point during this, I'm sure.
Not relevant in the moment.
Yeah, so Aunt Imogene, she's kind of nuts. She thinks there's a prince out there waiting for her, and she's just got to wait for him a little bit longer. She talks to her sister. Her sister tells her to just get married. You could be just like me and my husband, and we'll be perfect and everything.
Yeah, her husband kissing other ladies.
Her husband is over there smooching in the bushes in broad daylight, not even really very well hidden. Like Alice just walked up on you, and then another person just walked up on you too. Like it wasn't a good hiding spot.
Dude, come on.
Cheating. And then she talks to the grandmother, Hamish's grandmother, who is like the owner of the property, I believe. And she's
Hamish's mom.
It was his mom?
That was his mom.
Okay, she's a little old. Anyway,
it's definitely his mom.
My grandma.
So I was making that face. Like, what do you mean it's his grandma?
Whatever. I was getting grandma vibes hardcore.
That was his mom.
This? Megan? Or what? Not good? Oh. Luis is criticizing the haircut I gave him right now.
In the middle of the podcast, Lou?
Hey, drop it in the comments if you think Luis's hair looks fly.
Oh.
Hey, Michelle, let's not talk about what you people do in the middle of the podcast, okay? You're the last
eating
one.
a rice cake with caramel, okay?
I'm not talking about now. I'm talking in the past.
During this conversation with the grandma-looking mom, Alice sees a rabbit in a waistcoat, okay? He's running around, and he's in and out of the bushes. Oh, wait, I just seen a rabbit in a waistcoat. She goes off. She follows the rabbit. She gets distracted a couple more times by some people, and then she full-on pell-mells away.
Down, down, down she goes.
Yes. Oh, after she gets proposed to, of course.
In front of everybody, lined up, like in lines, just waiting for her to get proposed to. I told Andre if he had done that and there were just people like lining up to propose to me, like waiting for me to get proposed, absolutely not.
I mean, there were people waiting for you to get proposed.
They weren't lined up all like.
Okay, first
that
off.
That was so awkward. Oh, my God.
First off, what do you mean, Michelle? I drove hours and lined myself up to watch you get proposed.
Like they were in
pretty much
soldier lines, like in front of this gazebo. That was
I soldier lined in front of the Little Mermaid ride at Disneyland.
And you pretty much made it evident to Andre that he had to propose at Disneyland with 1 million people around.
In front of the Little Mermaid ride.
Thank you.
I told him to do that.
You told him practically what day to engage you on.
Nuh-uh.
No, I did that on
No,
my
he
own.
did that.
Anywho, yes, there was an audience for Alice's proposal. Hamish stands there. He says, "Hey, you trying to get hitched?" And Alice goes through all of the reasons why it would be a good idea. She's like, "Well, you're a lord, and you've got money, and I'd be taken care of, and I guess
I don't want to end up like my aunt.
right." And Imogene's is like, "Where do you want my prince to come?" And she's like, "Nah, this is all terrible. I can't deal with this or your red hair." And so she runs away. She runs away from everybody
Oh.
at the engagement. And she falls down a hole and down the rabbit hole.
Down she goes.
Mhm.
Down.
Addie literally said, "No, falling."
Oh.
She was all upset. She was like, "What?" She's in this mode now where she asks me what's happening all the time. Mama,
my
what
gosh.
happened? Mama, what happened? Mama, like she's so concerned because she's falling and hit a bed,
Or
hit a piano.
or
Piano.
Mama, what he doing? What's she doing?
What he doing?
Like watch the movie and you'll find out.
Yeah,
That's
There's that
hilarious.
too.
just watch it.
That's a whole nother story.
Hilarious.
Michelle does the same thing. We'll watch a movie.
Well, what I do in movies is I get confused. I'm like, who is that? Where'd that person come from? Especially in like Endgame and stuff. I'm like, what? What's down? I don't know what's going on.
Oh, my
Okay,
goodness.
whatever.
After our marathons. Anyway,
It's fine. Anyway, she fell down the hole, and it's basically like how it was in the first movie. She ends up in this room with a bunch of doors. There's a key on the table, and she has to find which door it opens. It opens the smallest door, right? So she drinks the potion, but then the key's on the table. So it's very much exactly like the animated one in that sense. She has to drink or eat the cake to grow big. And in the background are some of the characters talking like, wait, didn't you remember this from the first time? It's like the mouse and the bunny and Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And they're like, why doesn't she remember this? So we know that they remember her, but she does not remember them. So that's
And that she's been there before.
right.
You know?
apparently.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Which
if
is
they have
cool.
the
I
right
think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I was just assuming she just was going there for the first time or whatever.
Yeah. So
You know, it
once she
took me the
finally-
second time to watch this to, I guess, grasp that this was not
not her
the
first
original one. That this was a
Right.
follow-up.
Yeah. Which I think is clever. So once she finally gets through the door, she's smaller, obviously still, but they're like talking about her just straight up, like, I told you we don't have the right Alice. She wouldn't remember this. So they're trying to find a very specific Alice, which it seems like the White Rabbit has been looking for, which is interesting because you think he would remember where the other Alice had come from, in my mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they need a specific Alice because it has been prophesized that this Alice will slay the Jabberwocky so that the White Queen will reign again over Underland, not Wonderland. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I get it. It's because it's underground, but like,
Well, I think I'm not positive. I don't think I've read the book since I was pretty small, but I think that's from the book. Is that the place is called Underland, and Alice,
she's kind of a ditz.
well, she's a ditz and she's really young, so she's like, oh, Wonderland. I got it. I heard what you said. And
Okay.
you know, and she does it with a lot of the different phrases and things in the land. But yeah, this place is called Underland, and there's a whole insurgence happening where the Red Queen is reigning over everything, and she's kind of tough. But the White Queen is sequestered off in her own beautiful castle with her own beautiful people, and is just waiting for her opportune moment to take the crown back.
Yeah. So in order for them to decide if they have the right Alice, they decide to take her to Absalom, which is our lovely caterpillar, played by Mr. Snape himself.
Alan Rickman.
When we were watching it, we like remembered that he was the caterpillar, and we were like, oh, that's him, because when we had saw the most recent Alice in Wonderland in the theater, he had like just died, and then that movie came out, and we were like, oh, it's the last thing he did. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Snape himself.
Yeah, Luis and I looked at each other and were like,
Yeah. So anyway,
but he was so Snapey still, even though he didn't have his black hair, and he still was super Snapey.
He had smoke,
Stupid
and
girl.
that kind of added to
Obviously.
the persona a little bit.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, I
Mr.
love Alan Rickman.
Potter.
Alice.
So he asks Alice the classic question of who are you? And she's like, I'm Alice, whatever. He's like, you're barely Alice. You're almost Alice. You're not Alice as you should be or whatever. And that kind of gets in her head, and she moves on. Where does she go after Absalom?
Well, they get attacked by the Bandersnatch.
Oh yeah, that's right. So this movie definitely has a lot more action than the original Alice in Wonderland did. Okay, there's a whole bunch of fairly cool fight scenes that happen in this CGI world. So the Bandersnatch, which is like a polka dot bear dog, he jumps in, and the T mouse uses a tiny
The dormouse.
The dormouse.
Dormouse.
Whatever.
The T-mouse.
Doesn't she pop out of a teapot at some point?
No, but she's called a dormouse.
The dormouse pulls out her tiny sword and stabs the Bandersnatch right in the eye, pulls the eye right out, which is pretty gross in my opinion. I didn't necessarily love that. And then they escape, but they split ways. I believe Alice goes off on her own, and
Well, like they all get taken. It's only Tweedledee and Tweedledum and Alice left. The dormouse.
Start taking them towards.
Yeah, the White Rabbit has to go back to work at the castle. Well, he gets captured, so that's why he has to work at the castle.
Mm-hmm.
But then this giant flying bird just takes Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Like, okay, bye.
The dodo.
But it's okay because the Cheshire Cat found her.
The Cheshire
Finds
Cat.
her. My English isn't great today.
The Cheshire Cat is voiced by Stephen Fry.
I like the Cheshire Cat in this movie a lot. In the original Alice in Wonderland, he's not that helpful. Like he's a trickster. That's the whole point. But at least he's a little bit more helpful in this movie.
Yeah, he's on the right side of history in this one. I think in the first one you don't really know exactly where he stands. Because he brings up the Red Queen a bunch of times, but he doesn't necessarily like disparage her or anything like that.
Yeah, but he's kind of like that at first in this movie. But just like in the original movie, he's going to take her to the Mad Hatter, my favorite character in this movie, played by Mr. Johnny Depp himself. Johnny Depp just does so good at playing really eccentric characters.
Jonathan Depp.
Jonathan Depp.
Johnny Dubs.
Johnny Dubs.
Luis, who's your favorite character in this movie?
I think the only reason why I like this movie is because of Johnny Depp. If it was anyone else, I probably would not like him. He plays the Mad Hatter perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Like I said, he does such a good job of playing an eccentric character. And they really play more on the fact that the Hatter has gone kind of mad in these movies. Like, yes, he was mad in the OG ones, too. But I'm like, he's still there having a tea party, like, 10 years later. Get it together, sir.
Yeah, it's
and your bunny friend, who is even.
But he's also leading the insurgents.
Right. He's very interesting in this movie because not only is he like a Mad Hatter and he's kind of crazy and stuff like that, but his backstory of having this deep trauma has really turned him into a very specific kind of crazy person. And it's funny to me thinking that, like, if Johnny Depp had been cast as the Joker at some point, how similar this would be to that performance. You know what I'm saying?
It would
probably
work.
pretty similar.
I don't know if he'd be breaking out in an Irish accent as quite as often, but I think it'd be, other than that, pretty close.
I won't lie. I really like that when he gets mad and his whole face, like the makeup changes and he gets all dark and scary and he's like this really like ominous Irishman.
Irish brogue and stuff and things. I can't even repeat any of the stuff he said.
And the gun be whip.
Nonsense words.
Nonsense words in an Irish accent.
Yes, he's
Dead men tell no tales.
What is their signature line? Is it down with the bloody Red Baron? What do they say?
Down with the bloody
Big head.
Oh, down with
big head.
The big head. That's right.
Bloody big head. Down with a bloody big head.
Yeah.
You got
I'm not good at it.
That's the show. Yeah, so
Say it, Lou. You're pretty good at Scottish accent.
definitely learned more backstory in this movie. In the original Alice in Wonderland, there is no White Queen that we see or know of necessarily. But
at least not in the animated version.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, in the animated version. But in this, there is a conflict. It's like, Wicked Witch of the West going on. There's some wickedness going on here. But we have the White Queen and the Red Queen, which of course the White Queen is good and the Red Queen is bad, right?
Has a big head.
A very big head. So the Red Queen is the oldest and therefore should have the crown, but the Red Queen is crazy, so it should go to the White Queen. So the White Queen was basically ruling in her kingdom, and the Red Queen sent in the Jabberwocky and basically like Daenerys the whole thing. Yeah, Daenerys Targaryen up in here.
She pulled a real Game of Thrones.
She just incinerated everybody in the town, and the White Queen basically just ran away, which she kind of bugs me in this movie. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not doing much, girlfriend. You're just waiting for Alice to show up. But that's basically what happens, and it definitely scars the Mad Hatter. That whole scene, I really like his hair there, though. It's like really long and curly.
It's like long and curly and down to his shoulders or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally looks like it got singed off.
Yeah.
Like
I'm pretty sure it did.
That's why it's up like this.
Yeah. So we get, like I said, we get more of a backstory. So now the Red Queen is under rule in Underland. And basically, they're just waiting for this prophecy to happen where Alice is going to defeat the Jabberwocky, and then
Frabjous Day.
Oh, Frabjous Day, Kaloo Kalay.
Oh, Kaloo Kalay.
Kaloo Kalay. Yep. So that's basically.
If it wasn't for Johnny, I would give up on this movie with the words and the lingo they use.
That's why I said if it wasn't for the poem and the song, I'd be like, what are they saying? Like, because I know it's a poem. Like, if you read the poem, Luis, then you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So maybe we should put the poem.
Luis doesn't like things that aren't English or Spanish, so he might not like.
Maybe we should put that poem in the notes so that they can see it on the crack and they can read it.
If I can find the whole poem, then I absolutely.
I think it's just called the Jabberwocky.
Yeah, this is the Wikipedia article for it, but I don't think it necessarily has the whole poem itself. I will say that the White Queen, played by Anne Hathaway, so when she shows up, she's like meeting with the dog, right? The Bayard.
That's how she walks.
Bayard, the bloodhound, who is like on kind of opposite sides of the war at this point.
He's so cute.
And so she's like pretending to be all prissy and fancy with her guards and her maids or whatever. And then she sees the dog and she's like, oh, excuse me for just one moment. And then she like runs over and becomes like real with the dog. And her mannerisms in this are so odd and out there. Her hands are always up here at her shoulders constantly. There's no, they've never dipped below her chest at all. They're always up here. And at first it's really weird to me, but as the movie went on, I could see that she was just playing up this silly princessy queenie character, and it really started to grow on me. So by the end, when she's swinging this arm around, I'm dying laughing. I love everything Anne Hathaway does in this movie.
At the end, when she was
and it's
like the blood from the Jabberwocky, and she like shuddered. She was like, I was like, calm down, girl.
It's funny too, because I know you said that you don't like the sequel to this, but it's funny because the sequel, for people who haven't seen it, gives all the backstory on why the Red Queen really does hate the White Queen and feels like she has a really good reason to hate her, not just because she's like pretty and White Queen or whatever. Mm-hmm. She has like her reasons. And so that's what makes it even funnier when you rewatch this movie, because Anne Hathaway is, or the White Queen is intentionally playing up this goody-goody act because of what you find out in the second one. So when you rewatch it, you're like, dude, this is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember that.
It.
I'll probably have to go back and rewatch the second one.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the premise of the movie, I think the backstory is really good because it gives you like why the Mad Hatter is so crazy on top of just like his house burned down and stuff. And it gives you like why the Red Queen hates the White Queen because they are sisters and there is like a major moment of trauma with them. So it's just funny that she's so extra.
All the time.
I liked it.
You thought it was funny?
I thought she was pinpoint.
I thought it was funny.
Whatever if that was the role, Anne Hathaway nailed it. You know?
I like Anne Hathaway a lot. Like, I think she does good in whatever she does. But she plays a lot of different styles, but I think she nailed it too.
Yeah, I agree. I liked her in this.
Me too.
We haven't.
I also like the Red Queen. Who is that girl? She's in Sweeney Todd too.
It's Helena Bonham Carter.
Thank you. I'm like, what's her name? I thought
you were like, you don't know who she is. Like,
no, I know.
Excuse you, Bellatrix Lestrange.
I literally love her.
Helena Bellina Carter.
Yeah.
Helena Carter.
By the way, Sweeney Todd is on Netflix right now, and I'm like dying to watch it. So I'm gonna have to put it on.
I'm gonna watch it right now.
It's so good.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Just so you know.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll have you know.
That
Louise said her name wrong one time, and I can never get it right again.
Actually,
Helena,
I said it. I always say her name wrong.
Well, now since then.
No.
Helena Bellina Carter.
Even when I don't do it on purpose.
Helena Bellina Carter.
I always call her that, even when I'm genuinely trying to call her by her name.
I can't call her anything else now.
Helena Bellina Carter.
Helena Bellina.
That's hilarious.
Helena Bellina Carter was also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but she was the wife of Tim Burton at the time of this movie.
They were married, right?
Married to him?
She and Tim Burton were married for a really long time.
That makes sense. She kind of
Yeah.
wild.
And Tim Burton
and
just
she
kept...
up in there.
What?
He kills her in all of his.
Yeah, not only does he kill her, but he also like has Johnny Depp make.
I would divorce Lou too if he's out in there killing me.
I didn't know they were married. That makes things very interesting.
Yeah,
I can't wait to watch Sweeney Todd now.
We should watch Sweeney Todd.
Yeah,
For sure.
I love that movie.
They weren't married at this movie.
Yeah, they were. I think. So.
I believe they were.
Yeah,
But
he's
let me
in it.
double check.
I think
it was prior to 2010.
I thought they got a divorce like more recently than that.
Yeah,
no?
I think it was pretty recent.
Honestly, it makes sense that she's
I don't
married
know.
to him because they're both kind of wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they both got crazy frizzy hair. You know.
She has such a distinct look. She is so pale. So pale. And this character fits her very well. She did
I guess so. 2014.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was married to Tim Burton from 2001 to 2014. Wait a second. She was also married to Kenneth Branagh, who was the he played Gilderoy Lockhart in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. She was married to him from 1994 to 1999. Wow. Helena. Michelle said she a freak.
Getting her Bellina Carter on.
Helena Bellina. Okay, I see why they call you Bellina. Yeah, so
Probably how they got her too. They're like
Bellina.
Helena, get in here, girl.
You know, it's really funny though because I mean, obviously there's CGI and makeup and all of that, but like we've seen a lot of her head and like it perfectly, like it's set perfectly for this character.
She got a big head,
like,
dude.
Big old head and this big old hair. Like it's perfect.
But like she has a big head too, but I think it's because she has so much hair.
I mean, the head is pretty big, but yeah, the hair is also very big.
Yeah.
And it's
That's what I'm saying. Like she always looks like she has this huge head.
Okay,
because
but
of
if
all
you
the hair she
see,
has.
babe, I thought you were going to set it up so you could put it on the TV for the listeners. But if you see like her in the costume for it, it looks really good.
What do
like
you mean?
her in the costume for the Red Queen,
without
the Queen
the
of
CGI.
Hearts, without the CGI.
Oh.
Because they obviously acted it out and they CGI'd over it. Okay, Andre's going to bring it up so we can show it to you guys. Like, she looks exactly like it. Like, it's insane.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, she is a perfect fit for this character just visually. Like, without even, like, all the CGI and the head stuff that they added to her.
Okay, we're going to share this screen with you really quick.
On top of being a crazy, like.
Okay, so you can see
Okay, so
here.
this is her, like, the
This is the big
CGI.
head,
Oh, I thought that was normal.
And that's her.
and that's normal.
Oh.
So if you jump back and forth from
So you're saying there's
Whoa,
no
the head
CGI.
got way bigger. You're right. Whoa.
Nah. I feel like it's just her body got smaller.
Yeah?
right? But no, look, I mean, they obviously had to resize.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe they just made the body smaller because the hair and the makeup and her face looks the same.
Well, but I mean, between these two images, you can see what shrinks and what gets bigger. Like her head gets way bigger, and then her body does get a little bigger as well, or smaller. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You see that?
She looks good though.
This is fun. We should just do this for the rest of the episode.
Okay.
I'll be honest. This one actually looks really weird now to me.
Right. Like she looks nuts, but the
normal.
And the way
this is normal.
The way that they enlarge like just her neck, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but just her neck on top of the costume.
Well, yeah, because she has a big head, she likes people who like look different, right? So
this looks bizarre.
Everybody in her court is fake. They like got a fake nose, fake fat, fake tall. You know what I mean? She loves it. I mean, she doesn't know they're fake, but
yeah. Oh, fun.
Oh,
she likes big things,
yeah.
And she cannot lie.
Well, and what's her like number one dude's name?
The Knave.
The
Marty
Knave.
McFly.
Yeah, George McFly actually. That's
whatever.
Marty's dad.
Yeah.
Kristen Glover.
Yes.
Plays. What's this dude's name?
It's not the Knave. What do they call him?
Stave.
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 Yeah, Stave.
Stain.
Stain.
Stain, the Knave of Hearts. We almost got it.
Stain. She's like obsessed with him, and he is so annoying.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
When he's like, okay, so
because he's tall.
Basically, Alice in Wonderland decides that she wants to go save the Mad Hatter because the Mad.
I like how you call him.
How you call him what?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Alice in Wonderland, like you call her the whole name.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
It's not just Alice.
Whatever.
There's only one.
Basically, she decides that she's gonna go
That
save
girl.
the Mad Hatter from the Red Queen's castle. From the Red Queen's castle. That was a tongue twister. Because he gets captured because he basically is like, run, Alice, and like throws her on this hat. She's really tiny, right? So she goes to the Red Queen's castle. Bayard takes her there. It's really hard to say that. Try to say it, okay, Emily?
The Red Queen's castle?
Oh.
The Red Queen's castle?
The Red Queen's castle.
The Red Queen.
Anyway,
Red Queen castle.
She gets there, and the Red Queen is having her croquet game, And during the croquet game, the White Rabbit finds
Yes.
Alice and gives her more of the cake to make her big. But she eats 2 bites, which is way too much.
Too much.
And she gets too tall. So when the Red Queen comes over there and asks what her name is, apparently she's from Umbridge and doesn't realize that this is Alice right in front of her. So she's even a little dim-witted. My goodness, whatever. And then she's just in the castle. Yeah, so is the Mad Hatter, and the Mad Hatter's gonna hat for the Queen, which is hilarious to me. I love seeing all the hats he makes. They're hilarious. My favorite one is the goose.
Yeah, this might be my favorite interaction
Next.
in the movie.
Hold on, we're missing 2 of my favorite interactions. 2
Okay, what are they?
What are
in a row. The first one is very small and it's just cute. The second one, Luis and I literally peed our pants. Okay, there was pee everywhere. It was so funny.
Gross.
Number 1, not really. Number 1 is when she's playing croquet and she gets the flamingo, right? And she's like wringing it out and she's gonna hit, and it's gonna hit the hedgehog. And the flamingo's like, I'm so sorry to the hedgehog, and the hedgehog's like, it's okay. Right? It's very, no, you guys didn't think that was cute. I thought that was just hilarious. Whatever.
It's okay.
It was cute. Okay. And number 2, when she walks in and she's like, who ate my tots?
Oh my god.
Who ate my tots?
My tots!
My tots!
And she's going down the row of like frogs that talk, and then the frogs are like, hey, was that right?
What's funny is like, did you eat it? No, madam. And then she keeps going down the line, and she goes to the guy at the end, and the guy at the end,
like,
she like stares him down hecka hard. And then he's like, or he just looks over to the side, and then she looks at where he looked, and then she's like, oh, I caught your behind. And then goes up to him, and then he's like, did you eat my tots? And then he's like, no, madam. Then he
It was kind of morbid because
licks it off
then she says that she's gonna eat his children. She's like, I love escargot on toast. I'm like, ew.
Tadpoles on toast.
It's not morbid because it's animals, so it's not.
Frog, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
It's gross.
It was
Yeah.
very
I did
funny.
I
that.
just thought it was so funny because he's like,
That was a very funny scene.
jam in the.
My favorite one from her is once is there, and from Umbridge is her favorite now, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, I need a pig. She like puts her feet up on the pig. Like, I love a warm hug for my tired feet.
Pig belly. I love a warm pig belly under my aching feet.
Like, okay,
Weird.
calm down.
I like when the Mad Hatter is brought in, and he sees the Red Queen, and he goes, "What's a regrettably large head you have?" She's like, "Thank you." I like that a lot. But them two together, the Mad Hatter and the Red Queen, Johnny Depp and
It's
Helena
good.
Bonham Carter. It's a good
Good
matchup.
stuff.
It's good stuff.
You have to assume it's really fun to work with, like if you have an established working relationship together, hopefully you hope they like each other, right? Like
They
that
have to. There's no way
they have to have a good working relationship.
this many movies.
And like it would be so fun to like cap on each other on screen. Like I'm sure that's really fun as an actor.
Right. Yeah.
To be like, your head is awfully large.
Like,
And be like,
dang, Belena, you got a big old head.
Did you say Belena?
Belena? Is that what
She
it's
said
called?
Belena.
Helena Belena.
Her name is Helena
Helena
Carter.
Belena.
Oh,
Carter.
Belena, excuse me.
Belena.
Dang, Belena. Okay, so the Mad Hatter starts making
Belena.
hats
I love
for the
it.
Red
I love
Queen,
it.
which is pretty fun. And then he realizes that he's like turned to the dark side and that he's like making hats for the Red Queen, and he's like, oh no, what have I done? He starts losing his mind. He
Even
thinks
more.
He's like, have I gone mad? And it's like, dude, yeah, you're like 25 years late on that
All
one.
the best people are, though. It's all good.
That's right. All the best people are. That was a fun line that Alice's dad said to her, and now that she gets to pass on to this crazy dude that's in front of her.
Who's actually crazy.
Yeah.
So basically, what's going to happen is she's supposed to find the Vorpal sword, because the Vorpal sword will slay the Jabberwocky. But where is the Vorpal sword? The Vorpal sword? It's in the
It's under the Bandersnatch.
the Bandersnatch's pet house, doghouse.
Under his Dalmatian abode.
I know, he has a little tiny house for a Bandersnatch. But it's okay. What's really weird is her and the Bandersnatch, I guess, are homies now because she gives him his eye back. Gross. First,
I would.
guess his eye still works, even though it got poked.
Yeah,
Nasty.
you can just pop it back in. It'll reconnect.
Pop it back in, it's fine, you know? So
Yeah.
they're even. He kind of licks her wound on her arm. He's like, sorry, girl. And it gets healed. And she gets the Vorpal sword. And then while all this is happening, this is the nastiest part of the movie. Mr. Knave, Mr. Stain, goes up to and like corners her and it's like, I like tall women. I was like, you
Big
are
women.
disgusting.
Gross.
But I feel like the only reason he did that is because the Red Queen was like, la, 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 like is in love with Stain.
Oh, right.
And Stain is like, come on, it's better to be feared than loved, right? Like, please leave me alone.
I guess.
Get off.
But I mean, she also chopped off her husband's head and it's in the river.
I
so.
think he's trying to go for the least lethal choice. He's like, hey, I'm gonna try and climb this tall girl real quick instead of dealing with old big head over here.
Disgusting. But it's fine. They get away.
So let me move the story along real fast.
She
Yes.
gets the
Vorpal sword. She gets it. She gets on the Bandersnatch.
White
Right.
Queen.
The White Queen. She
Yeah.
gets to the White Queen. The White Queen's like, yay, but now I need a champion. And everyone is like, okay, Alice, get up in there. And she's like, I can't do it. I'm not Alice. So they make her small. They get new, clothes for her. She goes and talks to Absalom. Absalom's like, wow, you're much more Alice than you used to be, but you're not quite yet.
Right.
And then it happens.
She gets hecka mad at him. She's like, dude, my name's Alice. My mom's name is this. My sister's name is that. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, uh-huh. Yeah, and then she like remembers it, which is weird. Well, because he says, you're so dim-witted. Like, this place is Underland, but you always used to call it Wonderland. And she was like, wait, Wonderland? I know that.
Right.
But she didn't know Underland. You know what I mean? So.
And then she's like, now
Oh.
I'm Alice. It wasn't a dream. I actually was here and I was a kid.
Yeah.
She just has PTSD, I guess. She's forgetful.
She gets a
Uh,
huge
Then-
boost of confidence.
Was
Now-
all of those, we all know that the author who wrote Alice in Wonderland did a lot of you-know-whats, and I guess Tim Burton was like,
Lewis
Alice,
Carroll was on acid? Is that what you're trying to say?
pretty much, and I think the point is that she did a lot of that when she was in Wonderland, that she didn't remember it.
What?
That's
She
what
was a
happened.
kid?
That's what you think was we were supposed to take away from
Yeah,
this?
that's why she only dreams about it. She's like, I can't remember it. 'cause
Pretty
I had-
sure she was like 7. So if she was on acid,
Yeah,
I'm
what
a
are you talking
little
about? She was 9 years old.
Whatever.
She went into this magical place. She misplaced Underland for Wonderland and then thought it was a dream for years and years and years. And now it's come back up as like past trauma and she can remember again. I don't necessarily know if she was dosing herself
Drugs.
with with drugs.
She was microdosing.
So here's the deal. The Mad Hatter's still stuck in the Queen's Castle.
And he's gonna get his head chopped off.
He's gonna be offed, and Chessie, he comes in and he saves the day because he had fled the day that the White Queen was dethroned the first time. So he pretends to be the Hatter when he gets taken out to have his head chopped off, and he floats the hat back to the real Hatter. They lead an uprising and run to the White Queen's castle, and now the Red Queen knows it's about to be Frabjous Day up in here. Calling the
It's about to
Jabberwocky.
be a Frabjous Day. Okay. So basically, the next part is just a Frabjous Day.
Yeah, they have a war basically.
Well, they go there. They're like, choom, choom, choom. Red people. Choom, choom, choom. White people. Hey, sister, we don't have to fight. It's going to be okay. No, you suck. I'm the oldest, and I get the crown. Well, fine. Where's your champion? And mine's a Jabberwocky. Yours is just a little girl named Alice. And that's basically how it goes.
This is exactly
Pretty
how I
much.
remember it.
That's how it goes.
Especially with the little hand people, definitely.
So, the queens aren't going to fight. They have to have champions for themselves. So,
I
the
don't
Red
dig it.
Queen has the Jabberwocky, and the White Queen has an Alice with a Vorpal sword.
Pretty
And
good match.
yeah, it's a
The
pretty
cool
good
thing,
match.
though, I like the idea that she doesn't have to fight the Jabberwocky, because I would think to myself, like, what 19-year-old girl is going to be able to fight this,
It's
like,
basically the sword.
thing. But the sword is the adversary,
Yeah.
and the sword wants to kill the Jabberwocky.
It's
So I
his
think
enemy.
that's really
The
cool.
Jabberwocky's like, my old enemy. And I was like, we've never met. He's like, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to the sword.
Well, and they even say, like, the sword knows what to do. You just have to swing it. It
Sounds like Gryffindor to me. I don't know. I'm just like,
Word.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sounds like the sword of
There's
Gryffindor.
A giant chess match and a sword that knows everything. It's
Yeah.
this is a Harry Potter ripoff.
I'm pretty Harry Potter ripoff. I feel like J.K. Rowling was like, "Ooh, I like this. I'm gonna put this in my book."
Who knows? Who knows?
This Jabberwocky pole.
Anyways, basically, all in all, she slays the Jabberwocky, cuts his head off. All of the red cards are like, we don't follow you anymore. And she gets banished to the outside lands with Mr. Stain, and they're handcuffed together. And it's literally the most hilarious part where he tries to, like, kill her for a hot second. He's like, ah! It's like, no.
He's like, kill me. Off of my
Kill me.
head. I can't
And she's
live.
Yeah,
That stunk.
I don't owe you
And then they're
any
just
time."
screaming because they don't want to be together. It's hilarious.
Literally hilarious.
You know what I thought was very, very, very funny, and it was a little bit like underplayed, is at one point, Stain, he already has a heart-shaped eye patch on one eye, and then he gets stabbed in the other eye. It was very silly. Did you hear that at all? Because my microphone was away from my mouth. He had one eye patch on his eye, and then he gets stabbed in the other eye, which is very funny.
Stain.
Stain.
Andre thinks eye stabbings are funny.
And
in this movie.
there was like 14 of them. It happened
There's a
over
lot
and
of
over
eye
again.
stabbing in here.
There
there
was
really
definitely a
is.
lot of eye stabbing. Oh, and then there was like this running joke throughout that he was gonna do a Frugerhausen dance if they
The Futterwhacking.
Futterwhacking dance,
Butterwhacking.
which was very weird.
I feel like I'm cursing every time I say one of these weird words.
Butterwhacking.
I feel like I'm not allowed to say some of
Frabjous.
this stuff. But yeah, he,
Luis was very concerned about the Futterwhacking. He was like, he saw it and he's like, his head didn't move. Oh, his head moved.
Yeah.
Because his
Yeah,
body
that's a
was
little
sitting
much.
on it, his head was staying, and then
That was the worst part of this movie. I swear, if it was not Johnny Depp, I would have literally stabbed my eyes out. It was the worst
speaking of stabbing
possible
eyes,
thing. I envied
Uh.
this Bandersnatch's right eye.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, the White Queen is the ruler now. She gets some blood from the Jabberwocky, and if Alice drinks it, it shall take her home if that is what she so desires. So she decides to go home and says she'll be back, basically, like for the Hatter, you know.
Mad Hatter doesn't want her to go. He's like, you
Yeah.
should stay here with me. We could like hang out and chill and be crazy together.
She's like, I gotta go take care of some stuff at home first, though.
I need to go home and say heck no to Hamish, okay?
What she does, she goes home. She's like, I'm not marrying you. You're not the man for me.
And she
And
crip walks in front of him. She's like, peace out, Percy Weasley. I'm done with you.
yeah, with her no stockings. Gasp. And so the next part of this movie is a little bit of a stretch to me because Hamish's dad owns the company that her dad had now. And she basically suggests that they trade with China and he offers her to be an apprentice of the company, which in the 1870s for a lady to do that, I'm pretty sure that would never happen.
She's a witch.
Like, it was a stretch. And even that guy's like, you know, if anybody else was telling me this, I would be like, what? But I think it's because it's her dad or whatever.
Right.
But they just glossed over the fact that she was like, no, I'm going to China real quick. Because that would not have happened. They probably would have put her in an insane asylum.
Well, I mean, the fact that she had the go ahead by the leader of the company or whatever, plus I think everybody there was like, yeah, she's weird. Send her off. Let her go wherever she wants to go. We don't have to deal with her anymore.
Guess.
We can have our normalcy around here without Alice.
It's a great ending. I'm just saying that probably wouldn't have happened.
I mean,
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
But then again, in every movie where the guy gets the girl and they kiss in the sunsets, probably wouldn't happen either.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Nah.
Dog.
Nah. Ariel's a human now. It's fine.
And that's the end of the movie. Oh, and then a Absalom shaped butterfly lands on her shoulder as the movie ends and she sails off into the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Cute. It's a good movie. I like it.
that was my butterfly, just so you know.
That was pretty good.
It looked pretty accurate.
It was cool because when Andre and I went to the Mickey's Halloween party.
Nobody.
When we went to the
You guys both missed it. He
we
started
saw
it.
it. We saw it. We saw it. When
But
we
as
went to
always,
the, Mickey's Halloween party at California Adventure. He was taking a photo.
Yeah, I know.
Last fall, they had the different characters that you could meet, and they had this version of the Mad Hatter, and it was so cool. Like they should have that.
Cool.
They should have that Mad Hatter in the parks more because he is very old.
Well, it's funny because Luis has a very
doesn't like
fond.
the Mad Hatter.
No, that's not true. He has a very fond place in his heart for Mad Hatters. He really, which I want to say the first time he saw the Mad Hatter might have been here, but I want to say it was from Once Upon a Time.
Yes.
Okay.
With Jefferson played by Bucky.
Yes. So when in
Yeah.
the first season of Once Upon a Time, the Mad Hatter shows up and he literally is in like 1 or 2 episodes. It's very, very short. But that that characterization of this of the Mad Hatter was super cool, and it was played by the guy who plays Bucky.
It was super cool.
And it was really cool. So from then he was like, oh my God, I love the Mad Hatter, whatever. So then he saw this movie, really liked the Mad Hatter, different interpretation, but really liked it. And then we went to the parks, right? And Michelle, you remember, Luis was like trying to talk to the Mad Hatter.
Like the Mad Hatter that time.
He was like, what is this? This is ridiculous, and blah, blah, blah. So then we watched that version, and he was like, oh, no. I don't like this.
Because I remember I was like trying to take a picture with the Mad Hatter and he kept walking away from me. And Luis was like getting mad for me. He was like, ugh.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Is this who we were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Jefferson.
Then they tried to do the spin-off Once Upon a Time in Wonderland because he was kind of popular and it didn't like stick.
But he was like a really good character.
Well, the first few seasons of Once Upon a Time were the bee's knees.
I
And
really
then-
love how you remembered that his name was Jefferson. That's
And then they,
hilarious
like,
because I
fell
did not
off.
remember that.
That's a BA name. That's a
I
cool
love the
name.
interpretation of Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time. So good.
It was really cool too because like in that interpretation, the hat was magical. It
Ah.
wasn't like the hat had more significance and like I want to say he could like open realms and stuff
Yeah,
with like
it
the
was
inside
like
of
a
the
portal. Yeah.
That's interesting.
hat. So
There's
it was
also
really it just
there's a different interpretation of the Mad Hatter in Batman. He's a Batman villain, and he uses his hats to do mind control. So all of his hats are like technologically advanced, and on the inside there's mind control devices on his hats. So he puts his hat on, and then he can put another hat on a henchman or whatever, and it'll control his mind or whatever.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so Batman has to fight him, and he's normally pretty nuts, pretty schizophrenic, and psychopathic.
is he called the Mad Hatter?
Yeah, he's called the Mad Hatter.
Interesting.
And he's obsessed with a girl
Interesting.
named Alice, and he keeps kidnapping blonde girls named Alice and, hiding them up, and Batman has to go save them.
Oh
It's-
my
it's weird.
gosh.
Unfortunate.
But it does kind of remind me of the Mad Hatter from this movie. Like, he's a little bit off of his rocker, and when he gets into that Irish brogue, scary type, it feels similar to him being a supervillain,
Mm-hmm.
which I liked.
Emily, you made
I
me
called
really,
him a super killer in my notes a couple times.
really want to rewatch like the first 3 seasons of Once Upon a Time until that episode where we said it should end. I think that was the 3rd season. I want to rewatch it now. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyways, did this movie
I
make
watched
some
the first
money?
season.
I've watched it like 3 times the first couple seasons.
This movie did make some money indeed. Let's see here. This movie had a budget of $150 million. Okay. And at the box office, it made $1.25 billion.
Okay.
This movie made a buttload of money.
Well,
Hot diggity
then.
dog.
Okay, boom, shmoney's.
Yeah.
And you know why? And I kind of agree with Luis on this. I think it was because they put Johnny Depp in there as the Mad Hatter. People can't resist Johnny Depp in a movie.
People
You know
can't
what I
resist
mean?
Johnny Depp in a wig. Okay. They see him
Yeah,
in
dude.
a wig and they're like,
Johnny
oh,
Depp
baby.
in a wig
And
and
makeup.
makeup. is Like,
Let's
be
"Hey,
real."
sir, the makeup was so good on him. I was like, come on, this should be illegal. Like,
Come on.
they
should be
got,
Illegal.
well, when his makeup looks better than mine, it's like, geez, you know what I mean? Can I get a what?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Mhm. It's hard. Well, I mean, I believe that it made that much money because it's very popular.
Now,
I want to
surprise-
say, I think I read. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that surprisingly enough,
There were-
despite how much money it made,
Oh, it's not a good score.
on the tomato meter, it only has a 51%.
And the audience score is only 55.
Yeah. It says
I
the
know.
critics' consensus, Tim Burton's Alice sacrifices the book's minimal narrative coherence and much of its heart, but it's an undeniable visual treat. So it looked good, but apparently they didn't think that the story was that great.
I like the story. It was simple, to the point.
And a divergence from its original, which I liked.
Yeah, I like that stuff. So whatever. Whatever.
What? You know what?
I like
Whatever.
it. It had. Yeah, I don't agree with the score. I think it was much better than that. I think it was like a solid movie. Of course there's pitfalls. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but anytime you take an animated feature and try to turn it into like full length live action, there's going to be pitfalls
Someone's
or whatever.
gonna say something. Like, it doesn't matter. Someone's gonna
But
say
I
something. Maybe it's because
Alright.
I'm not a huge fan of the original that much that I like this one better too. You know what I mean? It could be.
Well, and I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan all the time. I think sometimes it's a little too dark for my taste. Like, I get that people are really into his stuff, but this was just enough fantasy, just enough Tim Burton, just enough scary, just enough whimsical fun. Like, I think it hit all of the elements really well to be cohesive. I liked it.
I agree with that. Let's go ahead and do our ratings because our internet is starting to
Time to crap out.
starting
on
to crap out on us. So let's go ahead and start with you, Luis. What are you gonna rate this movie?
He's thinking intently.
Oh, okay.
I think we were about 8.5. That was good. The dance really freaked me out. I mean, it lost.
The Futter Wagon.
No.
He would have given it a 9.5 had it not been for the Futter Wagon.
Also, I'm saying they hyped up this dance all movie long. I was expecting the guy to do a triple somersault mid-air and land into a split, and he does that.
I mean, his head span all the way around. That was kind of cool.
His torso.
No, there was nothing hyped about that dance. I was thoroughly disappointed.
I'm gonna do the Futter Wagon next time I'm over at your guys' house.
Can't wait. Okay, Emily, you're up.
Hopefully that's soon, Andre. Hopefully that's. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. You want to know why? The music was good. The score's really good. I liked it a lot.
On the track.
Danny Elfman.
Of course, it was really good. I liked the imagery. I liked the connections to the original story. I agree with you. Tweedledee and Tweedledum were probably my least favorite thing. But that guy looks just like that. So it's honestly a casting discrepancy.
I like Tweedledee and Tweedledum better in the animated.
But they were less annoying in this one, which was nice. Because in the original one, I thought the casting was great. And I liked the Cheshire Cat much better in this one than I did in the original. So I'm going to say 8.5 for all those reasons.
All right. I'm also going to give this movie an 8.5. It is very visually appealing. It is a good play off of the original Alice in Wonderland. It was based off of the Jabberwocky poem, which I really like. I think that's cool. And I like Tim Burton a lot. I like Tim Burton movies. The darkness didn't bug me. I think what bugged me is if they were going to go that way, they should have just gone a little more. Like the chopped up heads were kind of just like creeping me out, but the rest of the movie wasn't. You know what I mean? So it seemed so out of place. And they were also trying to make the Red Queen funny. So it was like, were you trying to make her funny or dark? Because you needed to choose one. Like I get he was probably trying to be more kid friendly, but I just didn't. There was a disconnect with that there with me, especially for a Tim Burton movie. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. It is one of the best live action reimaginings that Disney has done, in my opinion. Andre.
Yeah, I think I agree with all you guys, basically. I think I'm going to give it an 8.0. I really liked it. It was fun. It was funny. And it looked really beautiful, Tweedledum and Tweedledee aside. I think there was like a fairly slow moment or two towards the end of the movie, like getting from the second act into the third act. Like after the Red Queen and the Hatter hang out for the first time, I feel like it moves a little bit slowly until the Jabberwocky comes out, and then the movie picks back up. So it's not perfect. But I did enjoy it for the most part, and you're right. The score is really, really good for this movie. I think that I definitely took the score away from this movie and held it with me for these past 10 years since my last viewing of it. I really like that Alice theme. So 8.0 for me.
Good job, Disney.
Good job indeed, Disney. All right, that's been it for Alice in Wonderland this week. Next time, we are going to give you some more live-action remake goodness. This is how I feel about it. We are going to review the 2019 live-action Disney Plus film, Lady and the Tramp.
Yay.
Some freaking dogs.
I'm down to watch it, but
dogs.
I think people know how I feel about live-action remakes in general. It ain't a good consensus for Michelle. So we'll see how this one is. I'm fully expecting to go into this with just being like, it's a dog movie.
I've heard a lot of feedback about this movie where the dogs were like uber freaky. Right. So I'm really interested to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I remember from the trailer that the dogs definitely look weird and they don't look great. But I'm hoping that the story and the characters and the voice acting plays out.
Now, this will be interesting since this is a Disney Plus original. We're not really going to have any money or ratings.
That's true.
So we'll have to figure out how we want to do that or
Yeah,
look
maybe
into
I'll-
that.
maybe
So
I'll
that'll
see
be
if I
fun.
can find some
I'm
good
sure
content.
they'll be I'm sure that we can find people's ratings online though, even though it
Yeah.
might not be like a money
Yeah,
score.
for sure.
Word.
For sure.
Yeah,
Where?
I'm excited
Our
though,
first Disney
because
Plus original.
yeah, that's why I'm excited. I'm interested to see caliber wise what the difference is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
How much money they putting into this stuff?
And you guys can all tune in. So
Yes. So check us out next Monday for that.
if you have Disney Plus.
In the meantime, hang out with us on social media. We are at the Walt Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go there. Leave a message in the comment or leave a comment telling us what you liked about the movie, what you thought about Alice in Wonderland, if you like this better than the animated version. If you're on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, click subscribe. What did Louise just whisper to you? Are you not allowed to say?
He's telling me quietly, let it go. That's what he's telling me right now. I can't.
Because of the Olaf on my shirt?
No. I'll tell you guys when we stop recording.
All
Oh,
right.
okay.
Sounds good.
Because
Some,
can I tell them? Come on, no, the listeners need this. Luis is like, he just whispers, what do you mean we're going to record that next week? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Do you think we're going to record it right now? And he's like, no, I thought we were doing this every 2 weeks.
Louise, for
Louis,
the
we've
past
literally been
2
doing it
weeks.
every week for like the past month and a half.
Dude,
this is what he wants.
quarantine is ruining everything.
It has been like 6 episodes, dude.
That's okay.
Oh.
Has no idea that we've done this every week for weeks. This is hashtag quarantine life, okay?
He's got
Oh my
quarantine
God.
brain for surezies. How many?
Poor
This is
Louis.
our 7th quarantine
This is
episode.
the 7th quarantine.
This is our
episode.
7th week in a row where we recorded an episode. Anyway,
7th week?
Yeah, this is our 7th one. Lady in the Tramp will be 8.
Well, you've been quarantined for 7 weeks. Remember when we thought this was going to be a cute temporary thing?
Ha 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 ha. Anyway, if you want to join us in our misery, go ahead and send a message to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com. We'll read your message on
Also,
the
I'm
show.
like really mad. I wore this shirt specifically so Luis would like diss it, but he didn't.
He can't even stand seeing a shirt.
What shirt? It's just a regular shirt. I don't see nothing there.
Whatever.
It's just
I
a
don't see
great
anything
shirt.
that's relevant.
He
Well, then.
said it's a gray shirt.
It's just a gray shirt. There's nothing there.
He hates him so much that he can't even see him.
It doesn't exist.
Blocking out the poor Olaf on that shirt. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Block it
There's
out.
nothing there. Why you guys think Olaf is there?
Oh my god. Moving on.
You can also send a message to us on Anchor. Check that out. Support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/thewaltvault. Sign up for $1 and get some extra content coming your way. All right, you guys, that's been it for this time. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week for some Lady and the Tramp Uncanny Valley goodness. The vault is now closed.